You were taught that goodness protects you. Be honest, and people will be honest with you. Be generous, and they will remember. Forgive them, and they will change. But look closely at how the world actually works. The employee who accepts every extra task is rarely rewarded with freedom. He is rewarded with more work. The friend who always pays becomes the person everyone expects to pay. And the one who forgives every betrayal does not always inspire loyalty. Sometimes they simply teach others that betrayal has no price. That is the shocking cost of goodness. Not because kindness is weak, but because kindness without judgment exposes you. It reveals what you will tolerate, what you are afraid to refuse, and how easily guilt can control you. Once people understand that your need to appear good is stronger than your willingness to defend yourself, your virtue can become their leverage. Machiavelli understood a truth polite society prefers to hide. Good intentions do not protect you from human ambition. A compassionate person without boundaries can be used. A generous person without strategy can be drained. And a forgiving person without consequences can quietly train others to betray them again. This video is not an argument for cruelty. It is a warning against blind goodness. Because real virtue is not endless submission. It is knowing when to help, whom to trust, what to forgive, and where to draw the line. In the next 8 truths, you will learn how to remain compassionate without becoming controllable and how to protect your goodness with strength. The first truth begins with the weakness most people reveal without realizing it. Goodness does more than reveal your character. It also reveals your vulnerabilities. Every time you avoid conflict, forgive without change, or say yes while wanting to say no, you teach people something about you. You show them what pressure works. You reveal which boundary can be crossed and which emotion can be used to control your decision. Most exploitation does not begin with force. It begins with observation. A manipulative colleague notices that you hate disappointing people. A selfish friend realizes that guilt makes you available. A dishonest partner learns that an apology is enough to regain your trust. They test you with a small request, a minor violation, or a broken promise. Then they watch your response. If nothing changes, the next test becomes larger. Consider an employee who regularly completes unfinished work for a careless co-worker. At first, it appears generous. He wants the team to succeed, so he stays late and quietly solves the problem. But the co-worker learns a different lesson. Neglect carries no cost because someone responsible will absorb it. Soon, the exception becomes a system. One person receives the reputation of being reliable. The other receives the burden of proving it every day. This is how goodness becomes access. Machiavelli understood that people are shaped not only by principles, but also by incentives. If crossing your boundary brings them a reward without consequence, moral arguments alone may not stop them. Your tolerance becomes part of their calculation. That is why a boundary is not merely something you announce, it is something your actions make real. You do not need to become suspicious of everyone, but you must notice who respects your refusal and who punishes you for it. Healthy people may feel disappointed by your boundary, but they adjust. Exploitative people challenge it, ridicule it, or make you feel guilty for having one. Their reaction gives you valuable information. Your kindness should reveal your values, not expose an unlimited supply of time, forgiveness, and emotional labor. Before helping, ask whether the person values your contribution or merely depends on your inability to refuse. Because the first cost of blind goodness is not what you give away. It is teaching the wrong people exactly how to use you. The first time you help someone, they may feel grateful. The 5th time, they begin to expect it. By the 10th, your generosity may no longer feel generous to them at all. It simply feels normal. This is one of the cruelest paradoxes of giving. The more consistently something is provided, the less visible its value becomes. Human beings adapt quickly. A favor that once felt exceptional becomes part of the background when repeated often enough. Appreciation fades, but expectation remains. And when the giver finally stops, the absence feels more significant than all the help that came before it. Imagine a man who regularly lends money to a relative. The first loan is requested with humility and repaid with gratitude. The second arrives after another emergency. By the fourth, the messages become shorter, the promises less specific, and repayment increasingly uncertain. Then, when the man finally refuses, he is accused of becoming selfish. His generosity did not create gratitude. It gradually created entitlement. The same pattern appears at work. If you answer messages every evening, people stop viewing it as dedication and begin treating it as availability. If you constantly repair other people's mistakes, they stop preparing carefully. If you always surrender your time, they stop asking what that time costs you. Machiavelli understood the strategic value of scarcity. What is always available is rarely treated as precious. This does not mean withholding help merely to manipulate people. It means refusing to make generosity automatic. Automatic generosity is dangerous because it removes judgment from giving. You respond to habit, guilt, or expectation instead of considering whether your help is useful, sustainable, or deserved. Before saying yes, ask 3 questions. Can I give this without damaging an important responsibility? Is this a temporary need or a repeated pattern? Will my help strengthen this person or make it easier for them to avoid responsibility? Sometimes saying no is more constructive than another rescue. It forces people to plan, adapt, and experience the consequences you have repeatedly absorbed for them. Give freely when the situation deserves it, but do not create a permanent obligation from a temporary act of kindness. Let your generosity remain a conscious decision, not a service others assume they own. Because when every yes is guaranteed, it loses its meaning. And the moment you finally say no, you discover who appreciated your kindness and who merely depended on your compliance. Forgiveness is often described as one of the highest forms of goodness. It can free you from resentment, prevent pain from controlling your future, and allow damaged relationships to heal. But forgiveness becomes dangerous when it removes every consequence from betrayal. Suppose someone lies to you, apologizes, and immediately receives the same trust they had before. If they lie again and receive another complete restoration, what have they learned? Not necessarily that honesty matters. They may learn that an apology is cheaper than changing their behavior. People study what your forgiveness allows. If every violation ends with words but no change in access, responsibility, or trust, the offender pays almost nothing. You absorb the damage while they retain the benefits of the relationship. Over time, forgiveness stops functioning as grace and starts operating as permission. Machiavelli judged people by patterns and incentives rather than promises alone. Words reveal what someone wants you to believe. Repeated behavior reveals what they are willing to do. When the two conflict, strategy requires you to trust the pattern. This is why 3 ideas must be separated: forgiveness, reconciliation, and access. Forgiveness means refusing to let hatred govern you. Reconciliation means rebuilding a relationship after both people acknowledge the damage and participate in repair. Access means allowing someone continued entry into your time, trust, resources, or private life. You can forgive without reconciling. You can reconcile slowly without restoring full access. And you can wish someone well while deciding they will never again occupy the position from which they harmed you. Consequences are not revenge. They are information made real. If a friend repeatedly exposes your secrets, stop giving them confidential information. If a business partner breaks an agreement, future cooperation requires safeguards. If someone consistently uses your mercy to repeat the same behavior, distance may be the only boundary they understand. Real forgiveness does not pretend nothing happened. It acknowledges reality without allowing bitterness to define what happens next. So do not measure remorse by emotional apologies. Measure it by changed behavior, accepted responsibility, and respect for the boundaries created by the damage. Mercy should leave room for redemption, but redemption must require evidence. Otherwise, you are not teaching people the value of forgiveness. You are teaching them that they can betray you, say the right words, and return without paying the price of change. Some people are not controlled by money, threats, or authority. They are controlled by something far quieter, the fear of looking like a bad person. They agree because they do not want to appear selfish. They remain silent because confrontation might make them seem difficult. They tolerate disrespect because defending themselves could be called unkind. Eventually, they are no longer choosing goodness. They are performing it to protect an image. And anyone who understands that image can control them. A manipulator does not need to command you directly. They only need to say, "I thought you cared," "You've changed," or "A good person would help." The accusation creates guilt. The guilt creates compliance. Your desire to preserve your moral reputation does the rest. Imagine a manager who refuses to confront a consistently underperforming employee. He tells himself he is being compassionate. In reality, he fears being viewed as harsh. So the responsible employees carry additional work, standards decline, and resentment spreads through the team. His decision looks kind to one person, but becomes unfair to everyone else. This is the difference between goodness and approval seeking. Goodness acts according to principle. Approval seeking acts according to anticipated reactions. Goodness accepts that the right decision may disappoint someone. Approval seeking sacrifices the right decision to avoid discomfort. Machiavelli understood that public perception matters, but he also understood the danger of becoming dependent on it. When your identity requires constant confirmation from others, your values no longer belong entirely to you. The crowd can reward, punish, and redirect your behavior simply by changing how it labels you. Strategic goodness requires the strength to be misunderstood. Sometimes a responsible parent must enforce a rule their child dislikes. Sometimes a loyal friend must speak a painful truth. Sometimes a leader must reject a popular request to protect a larger mission. And sometimes you must leave a relationship in which your kindness is being consumed rather than respected. These actions may look cold to the people who benefited from your silence. That does not make them wrong. Before agreeing to something, ask yourself, would I still do this if nobody praised me? Am I acting from conviction or fear of judgment? Is this truly compassionate, or am I purchasing approval with my own well-being? You do not become cruel by refusing to perform goodness on command. You become free when being called selfish no longer frightens you into abandoning yourself. Because the moment someone can control your reputation, they can control your decisions. Every time you say yes, something else receives a no. Yes to another unnecessary meeting may mean no to an hour of focused work. Yes to solving a friend's repeated crisis may mean no to rest, family, or your own unfinished responsibilities. Yes to everyone's demands may slowly become no to the future you claim to want. The cost is difficult to notice because it rarely arrives as a bill. It appears as exhaustion, delayed goals, lost concentration, declining health, and quiet resentment toward people you once wanted to help. Economists call this opportunity cost. Choosing one use of a limited resource means giving up another. Your time, attention, energy, and money are all limited resources. Spending them on one person or problem makes them unavailable elsewhere. Consider a reliable employee who accepts every task his manager gives him. He stays late, supports weaker colleagues, and handles emergencies without complaint. He appears productive because he is constantly busy. Yet years pass, and his own skills remain undeveloped. He has spent so much time protecting the organization from immediate problems that he never built the abilities required for his next opportunity. His goodness was real, so was its price. The danger becomes greater when giving is driven by guilt. A voluntary sacrifice can feel meaningful. A sacrifice made because you fear disappointing others often produces resentment. Eventually, you begin blaming people for taking what you repeatedly agreed to give. But responsibility must work in both directions. Others are responsible for respecting your limits. You are responsible for communicating and enforcing them. Machiavelli's thinking repeatedly returns to the management of limited power. A ruler who spends resources everywhere eventually becomes unable to defend what matters most. Your life operates by the same principle. If every request receives your time, then nothing truly has priority. Before saying yes, identify the real cost. What work will be delayed? What promise to yourself will be broken? What energy will be unavailable tomorrow? Would you still accept the request if you had to explain exactly what you were sacrificing? This does not mean calculating every act of kindness like a financial transaction. Some sacrifices are worthy precisely because they benefit someone you love or serve a meaningful purpose. The goal is not to eliminate sacrifice, it is to choose it consciously. Protecting your resources is not selfish when those resources support your health, family, mission, and ability to contribute in the future. Your life is built not only by the opportunities you accept, but by the distractions you refuse. So remember, a yes is never free. Its true price is whatever important thing can no longer receive you. Not every act that feels compassionate produces a compassionate result. Sometimes helping removes a temporary burden. Sometimes it removes the very pressure that would have forced a person to grow. A parent repeatedly pays the debts of an adult child who refuses to control their spending. A manager hides an employee's mistakes to protect them from embarrassment. A friend constantly rescues someone from crises created by the same destructive choices. Each action may come from love, but each rescue also interrupts the connection between behavior and consequence. Without that connection, there is little reason to change. This is the difference between support and enabling. Support helps someone develop the strength to face reality. Enabling protects them from reality so completely that weakness can continue without cost. The distinction is not always comfortable. Refusing another loan may feel cruel when someone is desperate. Allowing an employee to face accountability may feel harsh. Telling a friend the truth may risk the relationship. Yet, temporary discomfort can sometimes prevent permanent damage. Machiavelli cared about outcomes because power is measured by what decisions produce, not by how noble they sound. Good intentions cannot erase harmful consequences. If your kindness repeatedly rewards irresponsibility, dishonesty, or dependency, then the result contradicts the intention. Ask a harder question before intervening. Am I helping this person solve a problem, or helping them avoid the lesson inside it? Real help should increase capability. It may provide tools, guidance, training, time, or one carefully defined opportunity, but it should not become a permanent substitute for another person's effort. This applies emotionally as well. Compassion does not require agreeing with every belief or validating every decision. A loyal friend can understand your pain while still telling you that your behavior is making the situation worse. Comfort without honesty may soothe the moment while preserving the pattern. Mature goodness combines empathy with judgment. It considers what feels kind now, but also what creates strength later. It recognizes that protecting someone from every consequence may eventually leave them incapable of protecting themselves. You are not responsible for solving every struggle experienced by the people you love. Sometimes your role is to stand beside them while they solve it. Sometimes it is to offer a path, but refuse to carry them down it. And sometimes the most loving answer is no, because kindness should not merely reduce pain. It should help create the strength, responsibility, and wisdom that make the same pain less likely to return. The same act of kindness can be interpreted in two completely different ways. When someone is incapable of resisting, their mercy may look like fear, their patience may look like weakness, their silence may be mistaken for permission. But when a person has the ability to refuse, leave, expose, or impose consequences, and still chooses restraint, their kindness carries weight. The difference is power. Imagine two employees being treated unfairly. The first remains silent because he has no savings, no alternatives, and no confidence that another company will hire him. The second has valuable skills, financial reserves, and other opportunities, yet first chooses to negotiate calmly. Both appear patient, but only one is truly choosing patience. The other is enduring what he believes he cannot escape. People can often sense this distinction. Machiavelli used the lion and the fox to illustrate two forms of power. The fox recognizes traps, the lion discourages attack. Awareness without strength may help you see exploitation, but leave you unable to stop it. Strength without awareness may cause you to walk confidently into traps. Strategic goodness requires both. You need the fox's judgment to identify hidden motives and the lion's strength to make your boundaries credible. That strength does not have to involve threats or aggression. It can come from financial independence, valuable skills, emotional discipline, a strong reputation, documented agreements, supportive relationships, or the willingness to walk away. Power is anything that gives your no a real consequence. This is why building yourself is not separate from protecting your character. The more dependent you are on one employer, one relationship, or one source of approval, the harder it becomes to defend your values. Dependence narrows your choices. Capability restores them. However, the purpose of strength is not to dominate everyone around you. Strength without goodness easily becomes cruelty. Its purpose is to ensure that your compassion remains voluntary rather than compulsory. You want to be generous because you choose to give, not because someone can punish you for refusing. You want to forgive because you have judged it wise, not because you are too frightened to impose a consequence. You want to remain calm because you control yourself, not because you have no other option. Do not advertise your power unnecessarily. Build it quietly. Develop alternatives. Protect your income. Strengthen your mind. Become difficult to corner and prepared to leave situations that require your self-betrayal. Goodness without power survives only while others decide not to exploit it. But goodness protected by power becomes something stronger, a deliberate choice. And people respect kindness differently when they know it comes from someone who could resist but chooses wisdom over revenge. The highest purpose of goodness is not to make everyone comfortable. It is to create something valuable that survives beyond the moment. Yet many people spend their lives scattering their time, energy, and resources across every request that reaches them. They help widely but rarely deeply. They remain busy serving immediate needs while neglecting the mission, family, work, or future through which they could create lasting impact. Strategic goodness requires concentration. A physician cannot treat every patient in the world, but can transform thousands of lives by mastering one field. A business owner cannot employ everyone, but can build a stable organization that supports families for decades. A parent cannot remove every difficulty from a child's path, but can develop the character that helps the child face difficulties independently. Impact grows when goodness has direction. Machiavelli understood that lasting achievements require priorities. Every serious mission demands protection from distraction, exhaustion, and the demands of people who contribute nothing to it. If you allow everyone equal access to your resources, the people and purposes that matter most receive only what remains. Strategic goodness asks better questions. Who genuinely needs my help? Where can my contribution produce meaningful change? Which people will use what I give to become stronger? What must I protect today so that I can continue contributing tomorrow? This approach may appear less generous because it refuses many requests, but refusing the unimportant preserves your ability to serve the essential. Being sustainable is not the same as being selfish. Selfishness says, "Only I matter." Strategic goodness says, "I matter too," because destroying myself will not create a better future for anyone. Your legacy will not be measured by how often you surrendered your priorities to avoid disappointing people. It will be measured by what your choices allowed you to build, protect, teach, and improve. So, give where your help creates capability. Forgive where genuine change is possible. Invest in people who respect the opportunity. Protect the work that can benefit others long after the current pressure has disappeared. Goodness without strength is fragile. Strength without goodness becomes destructive. But goodness, guided by judgment and protected by strength, becomes power with a purpose. You do not need to become colder. You need to become more selective. Because your kindness is too valuable to be distributed without thought, and your life is too important to be consumed by every person who asks for a piece of it. Understanding these truths changes nothing unless they change the way you respond. So, before giving your time, money, forgiveness, or emotional energy, pass the request through 5 questions. First, is this person facing a genuine need or escaping responsibility? A temporary crisis deserves compassion. A repeated pattern requires boundaries. Second, will my help create capability or dependency? The best assistance makes someone stronger. If your intervention repeatedly prevents them from learning, planning, or changing, it may no longer be help. Third, what will this yes force me to neglect? Identify the real cost before committing. Protect your health, essential work, family, and long-term mission from requests that merely appear urgent. Fourth, has this person respected what I gave before? Gratitude is not only expressed through words, it appears through responsibility, reciprocity, and changed behavior. Fifth, am I acting from conviction or guilt? If the fear of looking selfish is making the decision for you, pause. A pressured yes is rarely an honest yes. Then apply 3 practical rules. Never answer a non-urgent request immediately. Say, "Let me consider it." Distance weakens emotional pressure and restores judgment. Do not over-explain your boundaries. A respectful person does not require a courtroom argument to accept your no. State the limit calmly, then stop negotiating against yourself. Finally, match access to behavior. Trust can grow when actions improve. It should shrink when violations continue. Forgiveness does not require restoring the conditions that made betrayal easy. Strategic goodness is not a refusal to care. It is a system for caring without losing control of your life. Help where your contribution creates strength. Give what you can sustain. Forgive without ignoring evidence, and reserve your deepest loyalty for people who treat it as a privilege. Your kindness should remain available, but never automatic. Goodness was never the problem. The problem was believing that goodness alone could protect you. Without boundaries, kindness becomes access. Without consequences, forgiveness becomes permission. Without judgment, generosity can reward irresponsibility. And without strength, even the purest intentions can be controlled by people who understand your guilt better than you understand your value. Machiavelli's lesson is not that you should become cruel. It is that virtue must survive in a world where not everyone shares it. That requires awareness, discipline, and the courage to disappoint people who benefited from your lack of boundaries. You can care without rescuing everyone. You can forgive without restoring trust. You can be generous without abandoning your priorities. And you can say no without becoming the person others accuse you of being. The goal is not to close your heart. It is to place a gate around it and decide consciously who is allowed through. Let your kindness remain genuine, but never predictable enough to be exploited. Let your compassion create strength rather than dependency, and build enough power that goodness remains your choice, not your only defense. Because the world does not need fewer good people. It needs good people who are no longer easy to use. If you are ready to protect your kindness without losing it, comment 1 below. Let that number mark the moment you stop confusing goodness with weakness. And subscribe to the channel for more lessons on power, psychology, money, and Machiavellian strategy, because remaining good is not enough. You must also become strong enough that no one can use your goodness against you.